Good evening. I am calling the March 18th, 2020 regular board meeting of the Columbus Board of Education session to order. Mr. Treasurer, will you please call the roll?
President Adair.
Present.
Ms. Beckerly. Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Cole.
Here.
Dr. Pierce.
Present.
Mr. Ragland.
Here.
And Vice President Reyes.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you.
If the minutes could reflect that Carol Beckerly is participating by telephone, understanding she won't vote, but she is here.
Yes, so Board Member Beckerly is participating by phone. We thank her for doing self-quarantine in this time of pandemic and encourage the rest of our audience to practice those same things. Board Member Beckerly recently traveled, and so we thank her for that. She is still participating by phone, and as Board Member Brown indicated, cannot vote in tonight's meeting. I will say that we tried very hard to work on this as a virtual meeting, but under the advice of our legal counsel, determined that an in-person meeting would be essential this evening so that we could vote on our agenda items that are very important and critical to the essential business of the district. We did practice, however, and if the legislature will hurry up and allow us to do that sort of meeting, we will be ready and prepared so that we can do business in extreme circumstances and emergencies such as this by virtual means, knowing to the public that our preferred method is always an in-person public meeting where you can fully engage with us. I would also just like to take a minute before we get into the agenda to let everyone know who's listening and watching at home that this will be a very quick meeting, but it does not mean that the business we are doing is not important. In fact, this evening we are doing two very important things. One, to authorize our superintendent to make hires during this situation, as well as to authorize our treasurer to pay our part-time and contract part-time
Latchkey substitute.
latchkey and substitutes. Thank you. That was what I was looking for. And substitutes. So we do things that are very important in our consent agenda. I also want to just say a few words to our parents who are out there. I'm with you. I've been 2 days with my fourth grader, and it is challenging. The district has provided a lot of great resources online that you can go to. I know that we have plans that are coming out in the future to provide more information about how to get more resources around academic support for your students. It is always our number one priority, no matter what we do, what kind of situation we're in, to educate the children of Columbus. I also want to make sure that our parents are aware that we do have food. I know that that's been out there, but we opened up another site yesterday at East High School. So please go out and you can get breakfast and lunch at those sites. We will keep evaluating that to see if additional sites and resources are necessary. Also, a big shout out to CODA, who made some announcements today or yesterday, can't remember, about different bus services and allowing students to ride for free to get to those food sites. In this time of emergency, again, like we said in our press conference, not every answer can be given right now. We continue to work, we continue to plan, we continue to move forward in the best way that we can. And all the while, we promise to communicate with you as fast as we can because we know that our families and our community are under a lot of stress right now. I also want to thank our administrative team as well as our teachers and faculty and staff who have been coming into work. We have food service working, we have safety and security working, we have people working from home, we have teachers who I know you're waiting for more instruction and what to do, who are trying to reach out to students and engage. All of that in time will be coming in terms of different ways that you can engage with your students. So I want to thank all of you and know that The team is working hard to ensure that we can again provide the best educational opportunities for our students going forward. If any of you are tuning into the governor's press conferences, and if you're not, you should, you probably know that this is going to be extended. If you've listened to Dr. Amy Acton, we understand that the peak of this probably will not hit until summer. So I know we have a lot of parents and especially our seniors, our class of 2020, that are very anxious to know what's going to go on. And I promise that we will get information to you as soon as we can. So be ready, families, be ready for those announcements, be ready for plans on how we will continue education as we move forward. This is a time of not only stress, but in stress, I think, comes great innovation. And I'm very proud of what our team has done in the short amount of time, coming together, working together, breaking down silos to come up with plans that are creative. We have been embarking on the portrait of a graduate, and we in that have thought about what is the future of our kids? What is the future of work? What is the future that we need to prepare them for? Well, guess what? That future just met us right now. And so every day our team has to take those kind of lessons that we've been talking about for our kids and use them now, because we need to develop technology and ways to innovate so that we can continue the path of working forward and innovating and educating our students. So I want to thank you all so much and know that we will continue to communicate with you. Communication is key. Please tune in to press conferences, to the Facebook page, to robocalls from your principals. Connect with each other via Facebook. We're in this together. We are a CCS community, and we will come out stronger on the other side. So with that, board members, and board members, I would encourage each of you on your own Facebook pages and social platforms, or however you'd like to do it, to send messages out and communicate to our constituents. That is our job in this time of need. So each of us has a very important role to play as we move forward. So tonight's agenda will be first the adoption of the agenda. The section of executive reports, we will have no reports this evening. We will vote on our consent agenda, which includes some of those very important items I mentioned. I will allow time for very, very brief announcements from the board, and then we will recess. So again, even though this meeting is going to be extremely short tonight, know that we have very important business, and we continue to work on your behalf, citizens of Columbus, and our families of our Columbus City Schools. So with that, is there a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved. Second.
Please call the roll.
President Adair?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Vice President Reyes?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Just out of formality, Madam Superintendent, first of all, we have no board recognition tonight. We have no public comment this evening, and so we move to item 5. Is there an executive report from the superintendent?
No, there's no executive report. Just want, again, to remind parents to check our website. Tomorrow morning, I will be recording a message to our families and to our staff, and that will be available on the website.
Thank you. The internal auditor is not here, but she let me know she does not have a report this evening. Mr. Treasurer, do you have a report this evening?
I have no report, but the report I would have delivered is included within the attachments on item 23.1 on the agenda, as it normally is.
Thank you. We will move to the consent agenda. Any board member can pull an item from the consent agenda. Is there anything that you would like to pull this evening? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve our consent agenda?
Second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Vice President Reyes?
Yes.
President Adair?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Are there any very brief announcements by board members? Board Member Cole.
Yes, thank you, Madam President.
just wanted to make sure that parents also knew to regularly have their children check into Google Classroom or any other classroom virtual platforms to check for any assigned work from the past or present. So please make sure you're staying on top of that. Wanted to make sure. In addition to that, I wanted to propose, I sent something to yourself, Madam Superintendent, Ms. Dr. Ocasio, also my two board colleagues, about Ohio Means Jobs and about the curriculum that's available on Ohio Means Jobs that actually aligns with the SEALs towards graduation. They offer K through 12 curriculum, right? So there is opportunity to at least have some access to testing opportunity, whether it's AIR or some of the other platforms. I think that there's opportunity through that platform to do some I don't want to say play testing, I want to say practice. Thank you so much. That's why. So practice testing through that. But there might be some curriculum available that we could use in the interim that you guys might want to look at and forward to our students. And it requires the teachers only to make the platform available. They don't have to do any of the grading. The system grades itself. So there's a beauty of it. But I definitely want to make sure that this is not thought of as a time in these next couple of weeks or longer, an opportunity to check out on our 51,000 students. I want to make sure that from the bottom up and the top down, we are very clear that their success is imperative and first priority, as much as their safety.
Thank you, Board Member Cole. Board Member Ragland.
Yes, speaking of our 51,000 students, I would like to congratulate one of them. Walnut Ridge Senior Von Cameron Davis was just named Ohio's Mr. Basketball.
All right.
And so this young man, I remember him in his days at Berwick, and has grown up to be a fine young man, fine student athlete, now representing our state as Ohio's Mr. Basketball. This was just named, and thank you for sending that information our way. So we want to congratulate Von Cameron and the Scots for an excellent season. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Board Member Brown.
Thank you. I'll be brief. In addition to thanking our staff, who have been very impressive through all of this, and I want to send thanks to Governor DeWine and to Health Director Dr. Amy Acton. They have done a spectacular job with managing the health aspects. I won't speak to the election. That's a different subject, but they really have been stars nationally in how they've led Ohio and how they've worked with us and including superintendents to participate in conversations before making decisions. Secondly, want to mention with respect to PRC, obviously, like all other committees, it is not meeting and won't be meeting for some time, but I'm hopeful, and I will be reaching out to allow the subcommittees to continue their work. And they can do that by phone or online, and we've got several important matters that are with subcommittees, specifically the equity policy, and hope to get that moving, and I'll be communicating. Third, and this also relates to policy, and I had a conversation this afternoon with Dr. Eric Rausch. Obviously, he's putting together a list, a package of what we need the legislature to do. Obviously, high on that list from our perspective is the ability to meet virtually. But there are lots of other things that the schools need academically and dates and all of that. My request is that either legislatively or with respect to our bylaws and our policies, if there's anything that comes to mind that we need to relax during the course of this emergency, please let me know so that we can do that. I've got some ideas already. We just did a couple of those in the consent agenda, especially already tonight. But there may be some others, and I'd like to get at it quickly so that we can present something for the next meeting, where we do need to empower our superintendent or our administrators to be able to have some flexibility. Finally, I mentioned the postponed election. My strong recommendation to everybody who has not yet cast their vote early is to please do so. You can vote tomorrow or any day going forward until there is an election day, whenever that may be. You can vote absentee. So don't forget to do that. We now see it's more important than ever. If you want to compare what a governor is doing with what is going on the national scene, for example. So.
Thank you, Board Member Brown. And just echoing what you said and kind of back to what Mr. Board Member Cole said, we still have very important work to do, right? So we just have to figure out a better way and different way to do it. So part of why we're stuck is that we cannot vote. We have to vote in person. But conversations and certainly research and working on things can happen, and that can happen virtually. So things like the policy committee, things like the beginning sessions of the millage committee, we can work on how to do that virtually. So no one's on a break right now. We just are taking a pause for a moment to figure out our technology so that we can continue our business. Board Member Pierce, Dr. Pierce.
So I want to take this opportunity first to thank our Alumni Association over at West High School. In our consent agenda, we did in fact accept the cash donation from you all, and I want to thank our alumni. This situation has showed us that not only do our alumni step up to help our school and our city, but they also step up in critical situations and times such as this to help those families that often go unseen. So thank you so much to the West High School Alumni Association for what you do to help our district, but also what you do on the West Side to help our families, again, those families that sometimes go unseen. Secondly, I want to give a huge shout out to our Walnut Ridge administrators, whoever is handling the Instagram page over there. Huge shout out. I have been watching y'all for the past couple of days. You have put up academic lessons. You have put contact information for teachers. You have connected our parents and caregivers to resources, so our kids are not just getting fed, but that our kids are continuing to learn during this time. Miss Kilbane, and I hope I'm saying your name correctly, you even did a workout session the other day. Those 7 burpees had me tired and wore out. So again, big shout out to Walnut Ridge and their Instagram page. I know we have other schools that are doing similar things with social media. They are contacting parents and caregivers, again, via email, via Facebook, via Google Classroom. Thank you for all those things. Far too often, our district is depicted as being so impoverished that we just need to focus on meeting the basic needs. We need to focus on feeding our kids. We focused on feeding our kids. Our operations, you all have done a great job having 1,000+ meals, I think, served today. Throughout this week, I'm sure we'll be upward beyond 2,000 to 3,000. But it's not just about meeting the basic needs. It's about preparing them for the future and making sure that learning continues. So a sincere thank you to all those educators that have gotten up every day, got on their email and said, how can we keep learning going? Thank you. As a parent who has had the fine pleasure for the past 4 days of seeing all my children sit at the kitchen table and get their work done during school hours, I thank you. Our community thanks you. Please keep up the good work. And then last but not least, equability. As a board member, I have received numerous messages, emails, text messages from individuals that have said, here's what Dublin is doing, here's what Whitehall is doing, here's what Worthington is doing. I would like to challenge our community that as you look to see what those other districts are doing, think about how we can take what those other districts are doing and do it better. and do it in our fine Columbus City School way. And then reach out to our superintendent and her staff to share those ideas. Again, far too often we look and say, somebody else is doing it better. As we're looking to see how those other districts are doing, please think about how we can do it better. Don't think about it from a deficient or a deficit aspect, but think about it to say, they've tried it, they've worked it, let's figure out how we can make it tailorized to our Columbus City schools. And then last but not least, I also want to thank all of our community partners. I want to thank our staff for getting that link up for volunteering and donating, for our community partners to identify how they could help our district. Our faith-based organizations have stepped up. I thank Chief Gillison and her team have really stepped up to get a lot of that work done. One of the things that was key for me as I ran to serve on this board was community. It's all about community. And this situation shows us the strength of our community. So again, thank you to our administration, Dr. Dixon, Director Gillison and her team for getting all of that information up and mobilizing community members to help us, because we can't do this alone.
Board Member Cole, did you have one more thing? No. And
One very last and very short. Again, I wanted to say thank you to those educators who have made learning first priority. I too have had my youngsters on Google Class and everything else, checking platform daily and getting work accomplished. Madam Superintendent, for some of our students, of course, who don't have the access or who may even fall behind or have been behind for whatever reason, is it possible for not necessarily the board, but your administration to open the door of opportunity for students who are behind, whether it was before this calamity has hit us or current? I'd love to see us take this opportunity now to help get students advanced and move forward, because by the time this smoke clears, we're going to really have to do some hustling and figuring out who's graduating, who isn't, who's ahead, who's behind, what the current, how homeostatic this district is, how balanced it is in terms of student performance. So I would love it if we could make sure our teachers and our administrators understood that if there's opportunity to get these kids leveled out, can we make sure that happens?
It's going to continue.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Board Member Reyes.
Thank you, President Adair. I just wanted to also thank everybody that's been involved. This is unprecedented. It's something that we have not seen in the past. I was sharing prior to the meeting as a person that works in the human services area, just how shocked and we were hearing what has been developing, but also how grateful we are to live in a city like Columbus, where a lot of people are stepping up. I want to ensure or make sure that our families are aware there are food pantries that are still open. If we did everything we can to ensure that our kids are being fed from a school perspective, but if you still are falling short, as many of us are learning this week, whether we're still employed or not employed, many of our families have been unemployed that are in some of the service industries. They're working as fast as they can in the unemployment. They're working as fast as they can from a government perspective. But if you still are struggling, please make sure you reach out to your food pantries, to your local human services organizations to ensure that you know what you're eligible for and apply. If you need some help, there are a lot of service agencies out there that are willing to do that. You can give them a call. Many of us are still working, maybe skeleton crews. But with that same thank you, I want to reiterate patience. I want to reiterate generosity and making sure that everyone understands a lot of us are struggling in the same way you are. And we're just trying to help, and we're trying to come together to make sure that everybody is taken care of. So let's just remember to be kind. Remember, that this is also a good opportunity as President Adair stated. It's a pause button. A lot of times we're running really, really fast, and we don't get an opportunity to do everything we needed to do or everything we'd like to do. It's an opportunity to sit down, pause, look at all those things, huge to-do list that we've had as a district, as individuals, as board members. We get an opportunity to review all that. With that said, Dr. Pierce and I and Chief Gillison are working on our public engagement strategy. So we'll be reaching out to some people. So the work, to your point, President Adair, continues. Actually, we might be even more robust because some of us have a little bit more time, and we're going to be looking forward to, as an extrovert, looking forward to seeing some folks, even if it's virtually through computer, as we were practicing the Brady Bunch virtual version yesterday. So again, just a big thank you for those of you who are still out there. You know, our leaders are trying to make the best decisions that we can. I just hope that we make sure, which I've seen, that everybody is brought to the table to ensure that we don't leave anybody behind. So, thank you, everybody.
Thank you to everyone. And again, everything we're doing, all of this, you know, not going to your hairdresser, not going out, you know, this is about flattening the curve. This is about ensuring that we are safe as a community. So please do that. You can still go out and walk. You can still go visit nature. You can FaceTime friends. You can do things. You don't have to, you know, be alone in your house all day. There's lots of great things to do. So just reach out, and we have, again, wonderful resources on our website. So I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. We all, just in case everybody was wondering, we all have, you know, hand sanitizer and even gloves. Some people wearing gloves, and we have wipes, and they cleaned everything really well. And if you notice, we're very spread out today, and we have very few staff. So thank you to those who are here. We appreciate you so much, because in truth, this was all a risk to our health to be here today. And that's how I view it. So we really need our legislator to help us out and figure out ways that we can do this sort of thing in an emergency. So with that, I think this might be the shortest board meeting on record. I will ask for a motion to, no, not quite. Oh, darn it. I did already. Carol didn't have anything.
Fine.
All right. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Cole? Yes. Dr. Pierce? Yes. Mr. Ragland? Yes. Vice President Reyes? Yes. President Adair?
Yes.
And Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carried.
We are adjourned. Thank you.